Hi, for this week's Writing Wednesday, I thought I would bring you to a place where we don't usually go for these videos, my classroom at work. This is the place where I live my other life when I'm not being a writer. I'm a teacher. It's not really a whole other life though, because I am mostly an English teacher, well, about half English, half social studies. So my teaching life, just like my writing life, is concerned with words and the English language. Which leads to a question that I often get asked. How irritated do you get by people misspelling and mispunctuating and generally abusing the English language? And the answer, of course, is very. You know that t-shirt you may have seen that says, "I'm silently correcting your grammar"? I am. But I do try to do it silently. Unless it's an assignment one of my students has handed in, I generally try never to correct anyone. But it doesn't mean that the editing tape is not constantly looping in my head. And so I thought we should just talk about a few of the things that drive me absolutely freaking insane. First thing, I guess, I am, yes, that person you dread and fear, I am the complete apostrophe freak. I hate to see signs like this. Oranges for sale. Seriously, oranges what? The apostrophe indicates a possessive. Oranges, apostrophe S, means something belonging to someone or something named orange. Oranges for sale makes no sense. If you want to make that correct, just knock out that apostrophe. Oh yeah, the good old your. Another misuse of the apostrophe and also of spelling. I go completely insane when I see things like this. I know that you're a beautiful person. You may be a beautiful person, but you cannot use the English language correctly. To do this correctly, you would have to replace the your with you apostrophe re, because the apostrophe indicates a missing letter, in this case the letter A, as your is a contraction of you are. I know that you are a beautiful person, and what makes you so beautiful to me is your ability to use the English language correctly. Another thing that makes me insane, which is not technically a grammar problem, not a misuse of the English language, but I go nuts when I see signs like this. This is the name of a real business. If you know who they are or where they are, I'm sure they provide fine service, but they call themselves Country Cut and Curl, all spelled with K's. Because it's cute if they all start with the same letter, but here's the thing, they already all start with the same letter. What's wrong with just starting them all with C, the way they actually start? So yeah, I think it's fair to say I get a little worked up about things like this. I get a little bit worked up when people misuse words that sound the same but are spelled different. For example, you've got your affect and effect. That had a big effect on me. No, it didn't. Effect is a noun, affect is a verb. It's a simple rule. So, am I a grammar Nazi? Well, I'm not quite as bad as the actual grammar Nazi in this video. Nor do I literally do what my hero David Mitchell does in this sketch, but I have to admit, I think about it all the time. I think, why can't you just spell and punctuate correctly? And then I find myself having to spell independence. 47 years into my usage of the English language, a bachelor's and a master's degree in English, 21 books published, and I still can't ever get this right without looking it up. So that's what I do. I look it up to find out how you spell independence. And I promise myself that I will remember and not mess it up the next time. Apparently I was right the first time. Independence. But here's the part I want to get to that's relevant to writing. How much of this stuff, spelling, grammar, usage, punctuation, how much of this is essential to being able to do creative writing? My answer? Not one darn bit of it. Here's the only thing I think is absolutely essential, the only writing rule you need to know. Tell your story. Tell it from the heart. Tell it complete with your bad spelling and your terrible grammar and your abused apostrophes and your misplaced quotation marks. Just tell it. Just get it down on paper. I have had brilliant, heartfelt, moving pieces of writing that have come across my desk from students who didn't know an apostrophe from an aardvark, but still could tell their stories. Now obviously, do I like to see that kind of thing in a final printed work? No, that's why editors exist. If you already have a publisher, hopefully you have enough of a relationship with them that they can clean up your English mistakes. If you don't, you need to find somebody who can before you ever try to get your work published. Look, I'll readily admit I'm lucky. Apart from independence, and a couple of other things that I get mixed up on, this stuff comes naturally to me. I don't remember ever having to learn grammar or learn punctuation. I've just always known how to do it. And as far as I'm concerned, an ability to be good at grammar and spelling and punctuation is like an ability to get a basketball into that round hangy. The net. In other words, it's like athletic ability. It's inborn, it's natural, you either got it or you don't. By practice and skill you can improve what you got, but you're never going to get to the skill level of somebody who's born with it. But it doesn't matter. If what you want to do is tell a story, tell a story. And then hire an editor. If you can't afford to hire an editor, find a friend or loved one who loves you and your work and is naturally good at spelling and grammar and will go through it with a fine-tooth comb. You will get better as you go along, but maybe you'll always need someone to edit for you. I can tell you in absolute truth that one of the writers I admire most in the world, I won't name names, but it's someone whose career I've followed with interest, who's been a mentor and a source of inspiration to me, and whose work I love, I happen to know from personal experience, is one of the worst spellers I've ever met. A terrible speller. But the public never sees that because somebody else sees her work before it ever gets into print, and all we see is the story that she has to tell. And that's what matters. So ignore the grammar Nazis, even if I'm one of them. Don't ignore your English teacher if you have an English teacher. Listen to them, learn from them, but don't ever let the grammar Nazis or the English teachers or the editors of this world stop you from telling your story just because you don't know where to put the apostrophes.